supported or endorsed by the owners, managers, or advertisers of this station. While we encourage all to share their opinions, we do not support any comments that may slander, discriminate, or otherwise offend anyone, and we insist that you refrain from any such statements.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newrish Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear No Favor. Where is the cancer man who run come out for war? Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSankits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newrish Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newrish Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear No Favor every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
And see your country dying and never lend a helping hand. Would you see your children's future dwindling, creating much disillusion? Or would we watch on idly, disregarding our self-sufficiency? Administration, wrecking all I know. I said no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We'll move on together, hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours. All yours, still yours. Would you assist building a wall so massive or a bridge? Don't care how small. As one tends to divide our people, the other unite us all. Unambitious men just cannot be a part of this community.
Good evening and welcome to Fear Nor Favor. This evening I'm expecting a guest in the person of Ras Aya. He's just a little bit on the late side due to a previous engagement. I, however, appreciate the fact that he accepted my spontaneous invitation. But in the meantime, I'll just keep it going until he reaches. Now, quite a number of persons have been graduating, and I want to say congratulations. They have many schools, the preschools, primary schools, secondary schools. Persons are graduating, and I think it is quite a feat because you go to primary school, especially, and you spend 7 years in primary school. Some people might be of the misconception or miscalculation that it is 6 years because you go up to grade six. But we have to remember that we start from kindergarten. Kindergarten, grade one, grade two, grade three, grade four, grade five, and grade six. So 7 years in primary school. And I think that is quite an achievement to go through the 7 years and move on. But what do we really mean by graduating? That is where the slippery explanation comes in. Graduate just means to move on, because in my honest opinion, if you're going to move people from primary school to secondary school, once ago we used to have the junior high school where you would spend the first and second year there before you move on to the senior high school. And those who lack the capacity to move on from junior high, they were well accommodated at the school, experiencing the third form, the fourth form, and the fifth form. But now, transition is straight from primary school to senior high school or secondary school. I find it a bit too much for some students, and it would have proven itself over the years. Because if you're leaving grade six in primary school and you're going into classes like the A5 and the A6 and maybe even A7 or G5, G6, G7, I think that is sending a message to us that maybe it is time to reintroduce our junior high school or middle school, as they would call it. I really cannot understand why somebody would leave primary school and be facilitated in a five, six, or seven. That means something is not right. Either that person left primary school prematurely because you're supposed to acquire certain skills and knowledge or knowledge set for you to move on to a secondary school. And maybe that is why we're having large percentages of persons not successfully completing secondary school. Yes, we often hear about the percentage passes that we get in various subjects. You might hear maths, for instance, you get a 30, 35, 40% pass rate. That 40% pass rate might be 4 out of 10 persons who went in. But what about the other 40 persons who didn't get a chance to do that exam? So instead of 4 out of 10, and you have 40%, a more fair indication would have been 4 out of 50, which is simply 8%. And maybe we should start factoring those who just didn't even make it to do the exam into the equation. Because if mathematics is compulsory when you reach to high school and you're getting 40% by getting 4 passes out of the 10 students who went in, it cannot be a true reflection of the mathematics performance of our students in the Federation or in any school at all. And because the emphasis is on the pass rate rather than on the number of persons who actually pass the exam out of the potential number of persons who ought to have been entered. Maybe that is what we need to be reflecting. So CXC has provided us with a false or artificial manifestation of the true image of our pass rate, and maybe that would have to change. Definitely that would have to change. Persons do not get a chance, and they don't get a chance because they would not have achieved the minimum required percentage to be put to do the exam. That is unfortunate. I prefer to enter 50 students and get 25 out of the 50 than to enter 10 and get all 10. That's 100% pass rate. 25 out of 50 is only 50% pass rate. But then you're pushing 15 more students into society with a capacity of a grade 3 and above. Even if you were to get 10 distinctions out of the 10 that you entered to do the exams, that would not sit well with most persons who are doing the statistical analysis. We have to correct that. And what is hurtful as well is that we are having, especially at the high school, you're having a lot of graduation. You have prom, they call it. You have prom. You have all kind of fancy stuff where a lot of money is involved. And that graduation is held before the results are back. So here you have some parents, guardians, and other support systems spending lots of monies, something close to $1,000 for the occasion of a graduation. And of course, some would end up being happy because their child would have passed several subjects when the results would have come back. But then you have those who are not so happy because sometimes the children will fail all the subjects that they did or pass 1 out of 8, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. We have to start looking to see how we can rectify that. How can we rectify that? Because after the results would have come back and persons did not achieve the number of passes that they expected, psychologically, it could impact that student going forward. Even sometimes then they may have to repeat in order to do better, get a chance at doing it again, and increase the probability of them doing better. Sometimes the mindset is not really there. Because you have to remember that they were in school. Our schools are not humongous schools with a lot of students. So everybody seemingly knows everybody. So when you go back for your second time around, you have to make up your mind that it is a bit of an embarrassment. You got to be strong. You have to have good coping skills so that you wouldn't feel too embarrassed. Yet it's a learning experience, yes. And you should just weather the storm and do what you're supposed to do. There might have been a situation that caused you not to perform the way you ought to have performed or live up to the expectations of your teachers, your parents, your friends, your neighbors, your community. Something there are some legitimate explanations as to why somebody might not have performed. But those are outliers. That is more the exception rather than the rule. But what can we do to better assist our students? I pay absolutely no regard to percentage pass. The number of students achieving those passing grades mean more to me than the percentage. Why would you enter somebody to do 8, 9, 10 subjects and they only pass one or two? Barring extreme circumstances or some unforeseen contingencies that might have overridden the normal performance of a student, I think it is poor management of our students with respect to sitting the exam. If you have a child or student who is doing 8, 9, or 10 subjects, there must be some indications that that child would not pass all 10, all 8, all 9. Why not as early as possible or in the most timely of manners? Reduce the number of subjects that the person is doing. You're doing 8, bring it down to 5. The expectation for you to move on would be about 4 or 5 subjects, including English and maths. Why force persons to go way above the average expectation when you know? You see, just the schools looking glorification. They want the name to be attached to high percentage pass. And sometimes they destroy the students in their efforts. I don't believe any student should be doing more than 8 subjects. Study 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That should be a thing of the past. We have to try and create a more friendly equilibrium, productive, pragmatic equilibrium for our students to perform. 8 subjects maximum, maybe even 6 with a skill set, a practical subject would go quite a long way. Somebody would do subjects and get 9 threes. Yes, a 3 is a pass. But obviously, maybe if you had cut it down to 6, person could have gotten 6 distinctions. We have to better manage our students when they are sitting examinations. I think that the ministry must have a policy that absolutely nobody who going to school should do more than 8 subjects. Absolutely nobody. If, however, you might have done some early, like you did English, POB, EDPM, you did those stuff leading up to your final year. Nothing wrong with you adding back on 3 more subjects. And cumulatively, you could have gotten, say, 11 because you already did 3 Out of the 8, you pass them, so you have 5. Nothing wrong if you add on 3 more or even 2 more. So cumulatively, you could get 10 or 11. But to take one shot at your subjects and pressurize individuals so that the school can look good. This look good thing should be a thing of the past. This competition among schools to see who get the highest pass rate, that should be finished away with. We need to finish away with that. Some schools want to push and push and push high percentage pass rate. And the general public has absolutely no idea how many students did not make it to do the exams. Once you free up some of the load on teachers, they could spend more time assisting the weaker ones. You spend more time assisting the weaker ones. We have to strike that balance. It might be a delicate equilibrium, but all that is part of the management of the school. You don't manage the school properly, some children would be left behind, way, way behind. A lot of intelligent students who could have done much better just succeeded marginally because the load was simply too much for them. You have some students who are involved in athletics and you still have them doing 9, 10, 11 subjects. You might see it as okay. You might want the praise and the glorification of saying that you have an athlete who runs a good 100 meters, 200 meters, 4x1, 4x4, and who is performing well in school. But sometimes you don't have any idea about the pressure that these students will be under in order to perform comprehensively. So we have to be mindful that we manage our students. We have to manage our students. It's not just the teachers and teaching. We must be so closely knitted to our students that we know what would be overwhelming and just do not take the risk. Yes, there are some who are excellent students, but at the same time, pressuring them to do all those subjects in the name of making the school look good. It is just utterly ridiculous. Why cause parents to spend so much money for a graduation only for when the results come back that the child did extremely poorly? Because what you find happening too is that a lot of parents seem not to be au fait or au courant with what's going on in school. Some of them don't have a clue when the students them doing exams. They don't have a clue what subjects they're doing in school. They don't have a clue how many subjects they're doing. And you have some fathers, they don't even know what class, some of them don't even know what school the children going to. So when you ask them what class the child is in, they do not know. They feel like their obligation is to drop off money to do the financial obligation that they have and nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. And until we start to get a better equilibrium with respect to fathers being supportive of their school age children, our society will continue to suffer. you lapse in your payments or child support, they take you down to the court order you to pay $100 a week. Sometimes they go for an increase, 125, 150. But that father has no connection with that child. Because sometimes it lead to vexation. You ask the father to pay XYZ, and already he's embarrassed for you because you took him before the court. So right away after that court hearing is an ocean between you and that child father, and subsequently trickles down to the child as well. And our society, our magistrates, our policies, our laws would have to come a little better than that. I think when a magistrate passing an order for a child support system, instead of just being financial, the father must play a role in the upbringing of the child. At least 3 days a week, whichever days you want to choose, you as the father must accommodate, facilitate whatever arrangement you have to make some kind of connection. You got children who go to school and brag about the father helping them with the homework, helping them do this, helping them do that. And some don't have the privilege of mentioning anything like that. Some of them will not even recognize the father if they see them. But as a society, we need to work on that. We have a tremendous amount of work to work on, and the court system will have to assist. You pay your 125 a week, and you go for the child every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you hold the child for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there's no reason why a child would always have to go back home to the mother to get ready for school on Monday morning. Come on, you iron the child clothes too. All that is becoming a little bit closer to your children. You and tell me you got to always carry back a child by the mother Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, so that she'll iron the school clothes. What happened is Friday, you take all the clothes, but you wash them and you iron and you alternate the weekends. You did it this weekend, next week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is hers. But if you do not start thinking like that as a society, I don't think we're going anywhere in a hurry. Anyhow, my guest is here. Ras Aya, welcome to the studios of Sugar City.
But on a love and greetings, Brother Nital, and blessed night to all from the platform, as your program called, Paul,
Fear,
and,
fear in
and
our favor.
fear in our favor. So give thanks for being here. And I would like to say apologize to the general public at this time because I just coming out of a meeting, so I have my apologies stated in this time. I would like to say give thanks for the Almighty Creator to having us here to engage in a dialogue in the way forward that we can pursue in information sharing. So blessed love.
Yes, and this gentleman would have been playing a key role within our society in several ways. I can recall when they first put the Marijuana Commission together because I took part in several of the consultations. He was an integral part of it. So anything within the categorization of cannabis and the way forward, he is quite au fait with what's going on. And I invited him here last minute notice to get a better understanding as to how we are advancing with our intentions that were publicized several years now, and more recently was more concentrated within the public's domain. I know that they passed some cannabis law, and persons were permitted to do certain things. There were promises made to have it advance to a certain stage. I'm not fully aware, and I feel that members of the general public, they would like to be aware as well. Where are we with the promises and the expectations as of today? Just tell us as much as you can tell us because you cannot give us information on behalf of anybody else.
True.
So just enlighten us as to what's going on.
I'd like to say thanks a lot again, Brother Nital, and we like to just bring forth just this notion that I as the Rastafari community are able to stable ourselves in going in how we gonna look at the value towards the industry. And one of the premises is that where you outline how what are we moving forward and certain legislation that entailing bringing to what the industry can pursue for both the oil of Sinkis and Nevis. And I'm just looking at from the emphasis that we as Rastafari bring more clarification to the general public more in the sense that even that is a recommendation to my part being a member of the body as now being the licensing authority, but I'm looking at the aspect of and I sharing the values that to enhance our people to what the industry can create and making sure that we manage our value within bringing safety net for the local people in a position towards this industry.
Yes. Now, it is put in the public's domain that it is medicinal marijuana. And they use the term medicinal as opposed to recreational. And some persons are still a bit confused. Maybe it sounds better and politically more correct for them to say medicinal marijuana. How do we differentiate? Because the way we see people enjoying the cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
I like many others, I'm a little bit confused. What is so medicinal about the usage that we are seeing? What is it really? Is it a combination of medicinal and recreational, but we're just not using the term recreational because it is better for us to be politically correct in using the medicinal jargon rather than recreational?
Well, in the moment that what we're relating with now, and when you say the word medicinal, as they say, there are some component in how we look at the format. In what stage is there is different element that will bring towards that charter. The charter meaning that it is not going to be comparative, as you say, recreational. Because recreational now is looking at ways that we full look into the smoking aspect, sound formality within how we can relate within that social compact. Now, the medicinal way is like you having ways that you say you break down two components as in the format of THC and CBD. Now, THC is as we know, in the aspect of the layout, as we say, is the moment within bringing that energy. We know it as farm that people say high, but we say energy. Energy meaning you're opening your third eye, you're bringing in more abscesses to how you can you utilize the value of the herb to safeguard whatever notion that might be along within illnesses. And when we look at it, is that the CBD now will bring now a different aspect. Now we fight within certain therapeutic remedy that we apply within. That's why you see where we say the medicinal plant that is now instilled. But I know we're looking at it from a holistic standpoint where we work within both the avenue of the THC combined with the CBD. So we won't left out none of what we know as the herb from the recreational use.
But the law that they pass in Parliament, the emphasis is on medicinal.
Yes.
So is it legal to use it other than for medicinal usage?
Well, one of the things that is really got to insist in if it's legal, the case that Sankofa outlined was something that not was on a medicinal case, it was a human right aspect. So family, some of the things that the law have provided now will have to be we surface to have some changes It might not effectively change one time to it.
Yeah, I'm quite aware the Sankofa matter.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the nucleus of that. A lot of people might not know, but you would attest to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw recently that some youngsters were arrested for possession and possession with intent to supply.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened maybe a week ago, 2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks.
So the general public seemed to be a little bit confused as to, in your experience,
Mm-hmm.
what do you understand by intention to supply? How much must you have? Because the law permits you to have some, and maybe they might have a designated area for you to use it in the general public. How much are they talking about cultivating when they say with intent to supply? 'Cause it has to do with the quantity. How much?
Yes, and that's something that has a state all in the aspect. Now, going back to this case that Sankofa bring forward, and you say you have a state in the information value. It look like now much of these charges that is implying is just like being totally just as the judge or whether it was a magistrate. I find that they didn't really look on the absence of what the value of the people who, because then you say intend to supply, what the intention of suppliers be, and you ask the amount you should acquire to have, what it entail of where you go within as this destination of smoking. So that is showing, there's a lot of leverage that we need to carry within, showing the legislators that some of the things that they passing on the term of, as I say, to amend is not basically gearing our people what the aspect of what the law really to safeguard within their use and the content of herb. So when they put in these kind of charges, I would like to ask to the judge or the magistrate, are you really looking into you as a personal way of pursuing for the system to be what you want to say as a safety, or you're trying to just look at the way and making sure you're trying to deny the value of the herb to be strongly being recorded in our use as a people? Because some of these youths here who you are just seeing the charges at is two old neighbors and one here, and one of the youths who are being charged is a family of mine. I'm not here because talking on the essence because our family might have been arrested. I still talking on the essence that the value what we are seeing moving along in these charges need to be removed from this kind of moment. Because if you're going into an industry, why should we still have seen people being vampirely being charged on the aspect of herb when even though you're outlined by the Nital medical herb? So that means what is the content of what you're bringing out for this medical herb to be surfaced within our society?
Yeah, because if you see, the police can only police the law. Their duty is to police the law. So if whatever law we have in place right now did not prevent them from doing what they're doing, they'll continue to do. So maybe there's a gray area that has to be placed into distinct shades of black and white. What the police ought to be doing. You understand? Because if you allow five plants in your yard,
Mm-hmm.
is there a limit to the extent to which that plant can grow? Is there a limit? Because you could have five plants and five plants could almost be like a mini forest.
Okay, let me look at the way you just asked. Is there a limit? Remember, there was a statement from the AG
Mm-hmm.
in his presumption towards about the planting of the cheese in, and he stated you shouldn't have the plant them in your front yard, but and you should have them in the backyard. These are the legislation aspect where he was reading off from his this within pursuing towards what the law phrase, but on the format, the agent missed in telling general public. Now, if I plan, if you, as the last said, you must have 5 chi. Let me look at the 5 chi. 1 chi in its own can come more than what you telling us as a people that we're supposed to work with. So let me be real in it. Now, in that 1 chi, and if the 1 chi come more than the 2 ounces that is required for us to as people to use, as they state, but I don't use not 2 ounces, I use more than 2 ounces. So I just saying that in the 1 chi, and that 1 chi being almost a pound or more, a half pound, what will that person be classified as?
But you could have, just as if you have 10 pair of shoes, you could only put on one at a time.
Yeah,
So even though you get a pound or 2 pounds from the
1 chi,
plants,
sir.
you know the limitation. They say, well, you must not walk with more than a
But you don't
particular.
have more than the limitation.
Yeah, but you have it in your possession,
Mm-hmm.
but inside of your yard.
Uh-huh.
And when you say do not plant it in the front of your yard, what happened to the side of the yard?
But that is something and the clarity that the ADO should have clear on to the general public, and I find well he put more emphasis in the aspect of backyard. When you look at so you don't have no neighbor in your backyard, in your
Right, so
backyard,
you must not be showing off yourself. It's like giving you permission to do something,
but you still
but
be.
telling you don't show yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have a man who working for maybe $15 an hour US, right? Everybody is working for the $430
Mm-hmm.
per week,
Mm-hmm.
but you happen to be getting your $1,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying to that person who doing that you cannot take a video with your weekly wage and put it into the public's domain?
I won't say that you cannot. You can basically the person know what the value of it and they take in the video and put it in the public domain.
They must know what gratification, what
Mm-hmm.
satisfaction they get by
And
doing
looking
that.
doing that.
So when you have a marijuana plant, and some people take a lot of pride in looking at the plants, how they
Mm-hmm.
grow,
Mm-hmm.
and where they progress, because you have to care for them.
Yes.
It's not like grass seeds, you just shut them and whenever they grow, they grow. You have to pay them attention. And when they come to a certain level, you get some pride, satisfaction out of seeing them grow. And if they said keep the plants in your backyard, it is obvious that they don't want you to be showing yourself. Because remember, it went from no plant at all to
Mm-hmm.
5 plants. So they said, let's massage it just a little bit here, a little bit there. Only your neighbor in the back should know.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? But then it could be to the side too. And people could sit to the side of your yard.
Maybe according to your fencing supported too. On
Right.
that level, sometimes you don't have no fencing at all.
They're apparently just trying to tell you, don't be too yourself.
Mhm.
Don't put it out front so everybody could see.
But the
But you
basic
can't give me permission to do something and then tell me.
the basic aspect where you're coming from within that where he was outlining this to try to pursue it and the content to bringing safety for the children them especially as they use the tarmac within saying that where location as for instance if I live in a surrounding area the care is located and I have herb that be in the area I ain't supposed to absent having the children them in that location of the area, seeing the hub them. So and I must able to if I want to use hub I have to go like miles away from the area in my own home surrounding. Leave the area and go out and do that and then come back in there. So it's a kind of tack game that that law is moving with and it need to really do some more soul searching that we could have some better insight to our people in how we approaching these movements towards the industry and how we can able to stabilize and bringing our people to safeguard within what they can produce within the industry because we know it's more than what we have because we ourselves in this so-called of the industry don't have the capacity to push more into that industry than what he have receive already. And when I mean like that, I'm talking about the marketing itself. Now, some of the content the aspect within the marketing move mostly within trading. And we know on the trading ground, and the trading gun we find much it bringing more.
Okay, let
Yeah,
us take a quick break and come back
I-
just for some
yeah.
adjustments.
Fellow citizens, near and far. Join Newrish Nital on Sugar Soda 90.34. Fear no favor.
Where is one? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSankits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newrish Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newrish Nital tackles the issues and take your calls. Fear no favor. Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
Welcome back. We had to take a pause for cause to make a slight adjustment as our engineer instructed us to. So we are back. Now you're talking about marketing. I think I heard those words coming from your mouth as I tried to
Yes.
share my attention. Marketing.
Uh-huh.
But what would you market if you don't produce?
That is something that,
Licenses would have
mm,
already been issued. What can we market really?
well, I will say here basically there is no license issued. So to the general public, there is no license issue. It's just that the body now looking to create that emphasis in knowing how to establish what will be presided to succeed in this licensing. So there's no license at the moment. So work is looking to come into place to make sure from the previous administration that was outlined under the farm administration and what now to this administration. So it can able to make these work be primitive to how the marketing is staged.
Okay. How are you hoping that the granting of licenses would be conducted? How do you give individuals? Do you give groups? Do you give rich investor, foreign investor who comes in and want a part of the pie? How would you suggest? Because I understand that you're part of the board. You're part of the board. You're
Yes, I'm a
appointed.
part of,
But
I'm a
tell us that now,
nominated.
man. Tell us that now, man. Let's hear it first at Sugar City, you know. I know you wasn't going to tell me everything, so
Yeah.
I did my research behind your back too.
Will I say
I think
everything?
you're here long enough now
No,
for us
I
for
would
you
like
to
to
have
say
said that you are
part
part of
of
the
the board.
board.
I'm being frank, but I'm not telling to the general public. I'm a member of the license authority, the cannabis license authority board, and I'm here not being initially for a representation of the board. I'm here just initially to give the absence of how we think from our and I as a Rastafari to insist on how we're looking from the moment to see that things categorized for our people better and not for some I would like to say I'd like you just outline how will it I would like to see it formulate within the licensing. I'm looking for it from a perspective from seeing our people be representative properly in the licensing that they can able to give instance on how they value the economic stage within for this industry to carry within for our people and not looking at some kind of investors to come in and capitalize and then we see much of the people left starving in the industry that is just as a worker not as a developer in the industry.
Is there a criteria for somebody to become a member of that board? Could I get an application form? Could I apply? I'm a chemist. Why can't I apply and be considered for a position on the board? Is it like that? Did you apply or did you just call you and say, look, that's how you based on your experience with this marijuana business, cannabis, you think that you'll be an important person and make some worthwhile contribution? Was it like that or
Uh,
you had to petition some of your friends and family
uh,
members to ensure that you're part of the board?
Well, from the memory I could insert, in 2022, after this administration was changed into the Labour administration, I find in November of 2022, and that's in my born month, and they call me in my born month, and the same day of my born day of November, and I was requested to be a member on this licensing authority. So I was not able to, as you outline, touch base with him. Is they touch base with us? So I don't know why was the request come from, but I was recommended to be a member of the board.
So I understanding that the board is just being put together. So it is not fully constituted as yet.
Well, at this time we are fully constituted because we are able to have a meeting for the first time today.
Oh, yeah, I had a meeting today. Yeah, but you could have a meeting with just a certain number of persons. You still to have positions filled out. Other persons are still considered. But could I ask you a question?
Yeah,
though?
I will just
How
say this
many?
before
How
you go.
many? Yeah, go ahead.
The board number was in fact to what we see, and it's a 50-member board.
15,
Yeah.
and all 15 members are there.
If not one of the members, but the rest were gradually present today.
So what was your vote not to have Nital on that board?
I can't respond on that.
Oh, it happened, so you can't respond.
I will say that there is things that we can outline that the board will pursue for in the some something to what the industry will request. So you just keep your head above, and we'll always remember to connect, as I said, our local people. I'm not looking to see some outside person coming in and taking the initial ground that we have here to stay as our local people can pursue in that. And that is my view in the aspect from being in the Rastafari community. And even though I'm a member of the board, I will be pursuing this when we have discussion going forward furtherly.
Because remember, you can't be any yes man, you know.
I will never be a
Anything
yes man.
without a little resistance is not at all.
You should have know how they started the meeting about love.
If you have a house and the house offers no resistance, a child could push down that house. The reason why we can't push down a house is because the house is pushing back at us. Physics tells you that there is a force equal and better than the one we are applying. That is why the house would not move. When an object doesn't move, it is pushing back. If I push this, it might not look as if it's pushing back, but it's pushing back.
Yes.
Now, is there a timetable for the board to achieve certain things by a certain time? Did they give you an agenda to say, look, by November we expect to have this, by June next year we expect to have that? Was that established? You are going to meet again to put, you all did some brainstorming? What is there?
Some levels of that were outlined. I can't entail that he have completed to the establishment. So there's further ongoing discussion will come to that, so we can able to give some premises in how to the functionaries go forward from here within. And I would love to outline generally to the public at large that and once I as Rastafari, we are willing to see for this the people of St. Kitts and Nevis be securely put forward in making sure that they have good initial representation to what can be concluded to the authority or to the industry. So the body of the board will able to know that we're doing public education. That's one of the things that we are able to pursue in our discussion of today too.
So you have a chairperson. Is there a deputy chairs yet, or is more like a steering committee so long until the board is fully established? But you said a while ago that I supposed to have 15 members.
A 15-member board.
And all but one was present?
All but one was present. And there is a chair and a deputy chair. So I hope that there is a communique coming within time and we see going forward. Because I don't want to make some outline cause on the grounds unless there is. I'm only here, as I say, already speaking on the genesis of from a Rastafari community, not and the genesis as a member of the board, but I'm giving my insight on some of the things that can be phased to how we're going forward.
But you think that the functioning of the board and the action they're taking should be hidden from the general public? They should be transparent. It should be in the public's domain. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't want to pressure you into
You can't
answering.
pressure me. I know how to handle things, my brother Nital.
I know to handle. Yeah, no, you know to handle pressure, and you're handling it good so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that that was the first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It was their timetable set for you all to have regular meetings, like once every month, once every 2 weeks.
Well, how the setting is that in the other setting of the meeting will be like we'll have them like to utilize the month, so we'll look to see that we have meeting twice a month,
Twice a month.
so we can able to further our discussion going forward. So as I say, you're looking for communicate within that will able to preside as we know the the communique that was outlined from the Ministry of Agriculture, who is stabilizing this in this board, well, is showing you that he had make announcement that Gian
Williams.
William Knight is the chair of the board, but we still have the CEO being Garfield
Dr. Alexander.
Alexander as the
Mhm.
CEO, and then our deputy chair will be of Terence DeCosta. So these are the two
Terence
formula.
DeCosta.
Yes.
Who that is? From where?
He was in the Ministry of Planning, and he's a retired planning officer in the Ministry of Planning. That's just located by Bladen Commercial Site. That's planning office. The planning office is located in the upstate of Clico Insurance Building.
Okay. They have committees and subcommittees.
Not at the moment. These are things that will be presiding on the later turn to carry out the work that instrumentally for other ways. That means that the board will need the supportive action on.
Is the CEO a part of the board, Dr. Alexander?
He's not a part. He'll be instrumental in all the meeting where the board will be a part with it. So generally, he have a different instrument carrying than what the board have.
So he attends board meetings.
He will be attending the board meeting because you have to be present at all the board meetings.
Well, if I'm the CEO and I'm invited to be a part or an integral part of the board meeting, what will the issue be between the CEO and the chairperson of the board?
I can't find an issue on the grounds. I'm seeing that they can work to the well-being
Together.
of what need to pursue for the body to carry out on the ground. So seeing that all the level of what they are instrumental for carrying out, be working for the well-being, not for what their position state, but the well-being for the nation state.
Is there a PRO for the board?
Not at the moment yet. All this will look into as the next meeting set out. So there was some of the discussion that look into next meeting.
But it's high time we start to get this thing rolling out, you know.
I'm glad you
And
said
from
so.
the time it got pick up speed too.
It will speak up speed.
They have many persons who would have been disadvantaged throughout the years, gone prison, rough up by police, get all kind of injury and thing, and they're ready to benefit from the investment they made back then, because I see it as an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Now that there's dividend to be paid, you know, to me, justice delayed is justice denied,
Mm-hmm.
and accommodation delayed is accommodation denied. And if we can facilitate these people as soon as possible,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of them have their plan, but they're not aware, they're not any wiser as to steps that they would have to make in order to align themselves to benefit. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the marketing aspect is a bit problematic. Are
Well,
we,
you
are
said
we,
that. Well,
are
you said
we,
that.
okay,
And you say problematic. Well, you look at it in.
okay, you go to the insurance company, you want to insure a vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
you're into your cultivation, But matter of fact, should anybody be cultivating right now since they don't have any license?
Yeah, man. I will assert all planters who planting herbs continue planting and keep it
But
to
you're a board
the
member, you got to
uh,
be mindful of what you're
no,
saying.
remember me a free man, me a
Yeah,
free,
I know, and I know that you're not
but
talking using your board hat.
me being vital in making sure that our people, as you just outlined, what will be entailed for those who have been suffer and hurt for the prevalence of the year. No,
But you cannot be cultivating with you're cultivating with the intention of supplying. You heard 2 weeks last week that you had persons arrested
yes,
for possession of cannabis, and the supply was of such that they said with intention to supply. So is there anyone who has a license or permission? Because sometimes you don't have a license, but you have permission. Like you come from overseas and you get a permit to drive. You don't have a license to drive here. You get a temporary license or maybe a permit to facilitate your driving while you are here. Do we have persons out there who have permits to cultivate for whatever reason? Suppose that you have a research section of the whole industry that is preliminary to further advancement. Wouldn't they have to do some cultivating and laboratory analysis and everything else to come up with a grade? Because eventually I would like think is to have a grade. Just like how you had the haze and the thing from the Jamaican mountain. And do we have any local weed that we could call ours, that this is our brand?
As I say, well, from last year in December, there was two to three people at a cannabis conference.
Where that conference
That held
was?
in Marriott in December. I think it was the 29th.
Marriott and St. Kitts?
Yes, the 29th and the 30th. Those were 2 days. And we had our local, present, Nubian. We had Banky from Nevis, and we had a young upcoming virgin named, I name as Bevan, but he carry his establishment as I think his modern house or something of that he carry. But he is one who was able to come out and display their herb over in that cannabis festival conference. And we are measures that right now these chi who had put out to their emphasis, but we would say there are other people. That's what I say.
But do they have permits? That is what I'm trying to understand.
Well, if they didn't have permit, they wouldn't be able to present the produce on the market.
So who presented them with permits?
Well, you got to talk to from the body who went in that stage. I didn't was in that stage. I don't want to answer.
So off the top of your head, who you think could have presented them with permits?
Well, I think they will.
A permit is a legal document.
I think they will more touch base on the grounds of the CEO who had organized that the cannabis festivity to be in the aspect. That's the best thing I can insert. He might give them the layer to carry where they can touch base and be engaging that.
I understand that at the music festival, you might have had some persons selling marijuana.
Well, that.
No, I'm just let's use it as a hypothetical example then.
Well, if you also, I will say from the last year previous music festival besides this one, remember the Chaya 420 Fenley?
420, yes.
Fenley last year in music festival, and I have some issues on it where I find if we're doing a 420 Fenley, and I put it to the minister herself, I say, how could you just have a area that's barricaded around and say people just go in and smoke? What you gotta look at is that this was the best opportunity that you could have staged now, as you're outlining. Where is our presenters within our presentation? So these could have been a layer of seeing that people have some use of breaking down the herb, even from its wafa into oil. That would be a good outline in that 420 Fenley. Another option I really like to see pursuing is that you have people now who taking the herb as a value of creating soap and all and lotions for your body texture care. So this is another value we could have been pushing in that 420 friendly, in enhancing how we could incorporate the market and how we're going forward. But there was not that kind of thinking mind amongst. So I find that if in these grounds here, we have to have proper mindset amongst these so these development that pursue within, whether you're breaking it down from this raw farm or you're creating it to a trading aspect. And some of these discussion will be presiding in the licensing authority body. And I hope that when we outline some of these requests and following how we're going to pursue in bringing these ground levels to a proper stage in putting our people forwardly and not backward.
But could you give persons license to produce a product, sell a product, but you don't really know the content of the product? Because marijuana, cannabis, would have increased its potency many folds over the past 20 years. Past 20 years. Are we aware the strength of the cannabis that we are utilizing around here for smoking? I'm talking about smoking. Are we aware of it? Or just have to be, is there a pilot project going on, by the way? To say, well, this brand, well, I don't even know if it's a brand, but this year got in that and that got in that. That is the components and what? CBC, THC, CBD, THC.
No,
I
there is
mean,
not a pilot project on the aspect.
so how do you know what you're
I just
selling?
outlined to you that three of the people who were at the cannabis festival had some works that they pushed out. So
Such as what? What was the
they had
benefit of that to the general public?
uh,
If I go down the market and I
mm,
decide I want poly mango,
mm,
I could tell the difference between poly mango and grafted mango, or rosy cheek
mm,
mango. So I know what I'm buying. So when you're pushing, what is the content of it?
there was this one position within the labeling of what the plant them of what was displayed. So in that level of what they pursue within the info, they were able to say, well, this is what it be, and they will describe from they will describe to the people, and some people bought plants of itself from them.
And that was legal.
Yeah, well, legal. Nobody was, and you see ACP walking from in Maria going right out the gateway with the plant. And it was something that was a turning point to my view. In not saying I'm glad to see that people are talking about, but I was saying that he give an emphasis now that people are willing to learn more about the plan.
When the government gives you permission to have 5 plans, where you getting the plan from in the first place to plan? Where you getting the seed them from? Who's supplying the seed them? Where do you get your basic material to cultivate so that they're going to plants and you can harvest? Where you getting it from?
Some people have a different avenue in what you're asking where they're getting it from. You know, you have some people save seeds, some people go out to pursue their seed from outside sources. So it's an influx in diversity now. You preside in getting your seed to go and get your nurture to your plant. And there's I mean, as I outlined, that within the production of the planting aspect, you must able to know if you have accessibility to land, whether you have it on a large scale or you have it on a small scale.
Okay, forget about the land.
Mm-hmm.
Where the planting material coming from? If you import it, did you import it legally? Did you bring it through porous borders? Where the material come from? Because if you're going to pass laws to give people permission to plant 5 plants in the yard, where the material is going to be supplied from for them to get the material to plant? Somebody got a permit.
As I stated, the body ain't give that level
Now I
outlining.
asking you,
So
forget about the body.
well,
I'm talking about above the shoulder, talking about the head now.
who
The
did?
head.
Who did?
From your experience,
uh,
where persons got plans from to plant in the yard to plant 5 plants. If you
some,
got a neighborhood with
mm,
300 people,
mm,
and each one decided they want to plant 5 plants,
in the
where
yard.
these plants gonna come from? Who's supplying the plant material?
neighbors,
Neighbor,
people,
where they get them
neighbors,
from?
people, as I tell you, some may be on the local aspect, providing someone with seed. Because you know, you got planters of that one with supply. Somebody with seed and say, you could take this seed and do something for yourself. Then you have people who go out and order seed from off a sources of what they call it, the internet. So,
Internet, so there's people got permits to do that?
well, there is things on the level that these guns are carried within the diversity of how they see them come in.
I
So,
mean, I understand that, man.
well, they
It's
see them.
agriculture department
Well, no, people bring in the seed
to the
different from
poorest borders.
different ways. From
So it is illegal.
well, I don't say illegal.
Customs and you could get it out.
Well, right, that's one of the thing, the trouble that we're facing along the way too. Because when you look at it, the sense of gaining seed, but I would like to say some of these seeds we gotta be caution to it, because some of these seeds are magnified in a way that they can be
Genetically modified.
they can be presiding in breaking a lot of damaging to your own local crops around where you're planting too. So really we have to be knowing what the best amount of the seed that are this chain of seed that we are requiring to bring in, and to the aspect of it, making sure that they don't be a part of Monsanto seed produced. Because these are dangerous as genetically modified.
But who has the expertise to indicate where seeds would come from, how much, whether or not they'll be saying it's friendly, Neve is friendly? You see, I want you to tell me from your experience. You're talking from the board.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking
From
from not
experience.
body, from your head.
Mm-hmm.
Where these seeds are come from?
You have people
Jamaica,
people have links with different.
Canada.
People have links. As I tell you, there is wide section of the movements carry out. Where in its own self, you have people who sell seed online.
Yeah, I understand
And
online, but
these
you can't.
online
But they
produce.
just can't throw it up in the ear and the
No.
wind take them.
No, you see, there is connection how you have to carry out, and some people carry out the connection to certain aspect of within the administration or within the legal framework as they consider, and some do it on a different level. So there's the diversity in how we create engaging seed here. We must able to know, well, once the seed then come, they're coming for the production of what we need to have a development within the market. And one
But
thing I
nobody
like
got
to add
nobody
to,
got no license to bring in anything
not
unless.
at the moment, but Nital, I
But
won't
they're
say.
coming in.
Yeah, look, it's right to let them come in because, as they
So
said,
they're coming without a license.
oh, you mean how they come in without a license? They
They
must
have an
come in.
import license.
It must come in because there's not, as you said, there was a long waiting overhaul. Hey, now you state in your question.
Yes, and I also
So-
say a lot of people want. So where would they get the supply of seeds from?
There's some that they can work within once the people who I could let if anyone want some seed, we can connect with I and I. That's I.
So where could I get some seeds from?
When you say you want it, you want in the sense of
Suppose Newrish Nital want some seeds tomorrow. How could I get some seeds?
check me.
Check you.
That's what I say.
And when the police come and ask me where I get seed from to plant,
you
could I
check
tell
it,
them
like,
that I get them from you?
That's yes, because I will
So
claim
two
and
us go
say,
in jail together.
nobody go in a jail once we putting it on the court, the table strongly. What are we valuing for the seed to use? I find in some of in the notion within the legislation, it been hindered, and I did outline that in some of the discussion today, and I was eminent to the minister himself when he was present, and I said we need to really stage on pursuing the Drug Act to be confined to change, and we can't continue entailing our industry and still, as you just outlined, Brother Nital, seeing people being charged still up to this day for intention of supplying, as they call it, to go as they cheat, as they use the word to pursue in making it sound like we're going out there in a lucrative way to make money off of the herb. So it's like they say, I will apply. I will just, if they find me about £20 a herb, that's it. They consider to say I'm going to intentional to supply. Supply to who? What about if I use it for my own
No man,
instant?
you can't. Your head can't take all of
No, I
that.
say you
You're gonna rotten
you see
before you use up all.
you take the aspect of just saying when I say use, but you see there's breakdown values of how we can entail in using the herb. I myself, well, I have a ganja stick biting upon because it give me a use of my comforting within my value of my teeth because I don't use toothpaste and toothbrush, so I have this here just as a comforting it in. Now, other ways I mean using the herb itself now, as I just outlined, that we must able to know if I got 20 pounds, can I use that 20 pounds to create a oil produce out it because
But you have an
okay,
agro-processing
yes,
business.
that
You have a license to conduct an
well, who
agro-processing
is a part
business.
of the cooperative? We are in the content. We are Nyabingi have members of this who are in Nyabingi who are part of cooperative. So we are in the process of agro processing. So we
You're in the
looking.
process of agro-processing.
We are in it
Do
to
you have a license to agro-process cannabis?
not on the aspect of
Not legally.
legally to the license of that because that is where the board will formulate all that content we are going forward. So where, as I say, the public education will bring all into that into the sense of how we go into having these things result into our people.
Let us assume that all is well and you cultivate, you supply, you get your return on your capital employed. In other words, you make some money
Mm-hmm.
and you go to the insurance and you want to insure a vehicle
Mm-hmm.
because are you gonna start walk? I see are you driving a kind of Hammer vehicle, yeah, Hummer
Well,
vehicle, I call it.
I got a lot over.
I dreamt about you having this big 200 and something $1,000 vehicle. I don't know if it is. They say I got a dream thing before it could happen, but I
Okay.
dreamt of you driving. As a matter of fact, you gave me a lift, and I commend you for the progress that you would have made.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to license it now, the insurance people ask you, how are you generating
Your income.
your income?
Mm-hmm.
And if you tell them by cultivating and selling marijuana, they're not accepting your money. The due diligence process will prevent them from accepting your money. Monies that are generated that way, the banks them would not be able to. You have somebody fronting for you or whatever, but if we have to be honest
Mm-hmm.
across the board, and we tell insurance people and the writer that look, my money coming in from cannabis, but we ain't even reached there yet. What is the intention for that?
And,
Because the due diligence people and the process now asking them to ask a lot of questions.
mm-hmm.
And from the time you realize that the money coming from marijuana, they might not take the money.
They might, and that is something that is to be aspire within. How will this body make sure that these discussions come to a tuition now with people receiving from these sales of produce to the hub. Now you say about the insurance, but I would like to touch that one of the thing I outlined on the grounds of my view towards is to see that Canada in particular have reaping some value of herb on the international scene. And where you think they pump their money into? The New York Stock Exchange for them same sales of herb. So and is going into one bet with doing something to please the international banner, but another bet the international banner doing more than what they want us to be pleased of. So what are we really trying to do? Cover for somebody?
Federal government in the US controlling us.
Eh?
Our banks can do as they like.
But there's ways. I mean, we can have better negotiation and making sure that we don't have these kind of things high low with people head like we got to be living in some fear tactics.
But they would not want to accept those stuff and make the adjustments unless marijuana is legalized. And even if marijuana legalized here, marijuana is not legalized by the federal government in the US.
But the
They
Fed,
control our banking system.
mm-hmm.
So how would we get money back? Because what would happen is that people would be aware that yes, you're making hundred or thousand and you can't put it in the bank. So next thing they reach by your house to look for the money under your carpet and under your mattress. So violence and crime would increase because they know that you cannot bank that money.
But if there's ways, I mean, as I tell you, and where you outline, yes, but we must able to play the card right in our negotiation, start play the tick for tack game. Because if we continue laying these international cheaty come holding our industrial grounds, what kind of value are we sharing for the generation to come?
But we are part of international convention and we would have acceded and ratified to several of them. And by doing things on our own, we could end up drifting. We are part of the international community via some international convention that we would have ratified and acceded to. So we can operate as if
You know,
no man is an
a
island, you
vacuum
know.
of your own. We
No,
ain't operating as a
no.
vacuum, but we did
But you got to
matters and
comply.
the,
Man, you could not comply, you know, but it's the
but you're the
consequences
sovereign, you
thereafter.
are a sovereign state. So what is about your integrity?
But you could be a sovereign state if you don't have the power to push your sovereignty,
That's what
then
you see. There is where the answer lie now. We cannot go into this industry blindsided by individual approach. Like when I say that, I mean in individual countries. When we're looking at it, we have to have a collective approach. So all voice must be respected within the value of what we're dealing with in the industry.
so you
Because
can just go and do an export.
we will export. We will.
Where? How you can get it exported?
I mean, we have a region, we just thought based on the collective approach. What else we want more than that in the content? We must go out in creating that market when we
So
know.
within the region,
So within the market out there, but the Nital is more vast than what we are applying with. So let me look at two countries now. When the establishment had stirred within the Caribbean shores to enhance discussion. Remember Jamaica went front and do decriminalization, right?
mm-hmm.
And what have they gained to insert the people in the value of what they're using on the market stream? Much of it have not benefit the people still, even though they know is the people work within. Now Jamaica now taking a notion of taking herb from Canada and bringing it in Jamaica to sell. What an embarrassment. So you're telling me in one bit your people can push the market up, but in another bit people can push the market down to you?
Really depend on the international laws that you're part of. You understand?
I quote I clearly over
Some
you.
people got clearance.
Mm.
Some do not have the clearance.
So there is where we have to have this aspect to bring strength to number than that individual approach because it can create a lot of confusion towards one another. It will. And if we don't play the ball right in defending our sovereignty, we won't hear. Not just in singing it won't hear when I use the word won't hear, I talk about the Caribbean approach and even if we want to ascend within the African region because and I have people in the African region are willing to employ the service in this part of the industry too. Willing.
Is there a willingness to legalize marijuana? Because you're only decriminalizing and something we're behaving as it is legalized. It has only been decriminalized, not legalized. Because once you legalize it, then regulations are got to come in place, and a lot of people who think they're gonna benefit, they might not benefit.
From the set go, hope always free in the sense of man, woman, and children. And to this day, 20th century, as you see it now, detailing, is now cause a turning level that it should be free. And you say if it's legalized, it won't work
It be
out
regulated.
to all in the sense of how the value is supposed to carry. Well, if we regulate it, let me look at it. What the value of the regulation will bring is to make. I hope it will make sure that all people get a turning point in economical support, in education, in whatever of the core that they are he or she comments within their career path. So we don't just left those people behind continuing to be a kind of slave workers. We want to have our people be a part in development.
Yeah, we come off the cane plantation. We're going on the marijuana plantation next.
We're gonna be on that kind of slave
That is what.
workers.
That's where we're heading. That's the trajectory.
No, it should. It won't be if we use thinking mind
We
wisely
send
and positive.
people away to learn to plant marijuana.
Yes.
Up to now, I haven't heard about anybody going away to become a dispenser. Because once you regulate, you gotta go by a dispensary to pick up your thing in proper dosage and everything. Do we have persons out there studying that aspect of it? All I hear is that we send some people to Canada or somewhere to learn how to plant marijuana. I don't know who got to teach us how to plant marijuana. We need for the processing and we need for the agro processing and the extraction of whatever we got to extract from it. And if a doctor is going to prescribe, but the doctor would get that expertise. Not any doctor could just say, well, go up there, go pick up that, You can't do that.
We have to
So
have
we're our doctors who going to get deeply to the core of the marijuana so they could write prescription. Because any doctor who write a prescription for marijuana without having the expertise to do it, they would be operating outside of the boundary and it would be unethical. So who going to prescribe what?
That is where in the moment of it will lay within, I think the collaboration can work within the natural practitioner and the doctor in particular to see on the court of how work within this moment to bring what is why I just outlined, so the doctor won't go off phase within the as we work within the dispensary.
It's like you're taking a dentist to carry out a general surgery. I mean, come on. We have to put these things in place if we're going to legalize eventually and regulate and have a dispensary. You have dispensers, but you have to have people trained to write a prescription. And that is what I'm talking about. We kind of far where we're dragging our feet. Yes, I want to commend the authorities them for putting a board together. But what pace are we going at? Are we going to make any progress within the next 5 years?
It should be more than it should be in less than 5 years. We should have some.
But with the groundwork, with the people them.
Well, just lay out to
you
see.
Just said that Jamaica importing weed from Canada to sell. So we're gonna import. We're gonna import.
I won't see things, and they should be pursuing a court like that. We have a better model than what Jamaica and St. Vincent and Grenadines are pursuing on.
Better model in terms of what?
Pursuing in how we could create a better way of not laying the industry captivated by just big money grabbers coming along and pursuing and saying.
But do we have a brand? Would we say this is St. Kitts brand? Nevis brand?
That's what I said. There is the work in projection now for the ones who planting to pursue the brand out. So these are content that will bring out from the work of the committee for it in the licensing authority always pursue.
So where did they get the engineering skills from? So that they could manipulate, adjust, and come up with a brand.
They have people doing more studies as we require right now, because people are doing studies to create their own brand right now in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I will say, you have a youth there too who named Zen. He is in the same aspect of the breaking down of the herb into oil. So these are avenues that we have some people on this team doing probably it in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, and to say, but I'm saying that to us as a small territory, we can captivate ourselves single-handedly. We have to go within the collective approach of the Caribbean region.
So are we sending our people to be trained?
I think there's views going on that level. I don't say we have it yet, but there's views. And when I said there, I think things of this magnitude shall be pursued for the people who are willing to take in the part there, whether it's from a field of the male or from the field of the female. So they can have that supportive action behind where they're going out to do these insert of the studies and this.
When you're in a chemistry lab, Ras Ayo, You have a sample of something,
Mhm.
and you're asked to establish what you have inside here and how much of each. You call it qualitative analysis for you to work out what you have inside here, and quantitative analysis as to how much, right?
Mhm.
So it is a very intricate process. We have to isolate, carry out to test them, whether you're testing for potassium ion, calcium ion, chloride, bromide, sulfate, whatever you're testing for, you have to have the appropriate training
Mhm.
to carry out the experiment. You might have to run a titration. And I don't know if we have people who, yes, they're intelligent and they're doing whatever, but is it consistent with a general set of principles, established principles? Because in chemistry, you use the IUPAC, International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, IUPAC. So we have some things at the nucleus, and we will go out to the periphery, out on the boundary. Where are we starting? Are we just doing some maybe guesswork or random work, and then eventually we record, going along, we record, well, we ended up here. What were the steps that we took to end up here? And then we could repeat, because when you're doing experiment and so you have to be able to replicate what you did.
Mhm.
And if you have guys here who indicating the quality of stuff that we have to
Mhm.
market, they got to be able to be replicated. You have to take notes. You have to do whatever you have to do. And
That is something they are
if
doing too.
if you have to have an idea about biochemistry and so to know the experience alone, you line up 10 people, you say smoke, that's smoke, that how you feel, how you feel. I mean, that is all part of it.
Mhm.
But what about the chemical aspect of it? It's chemistry, it's chemicals. My one, I got him about 500 and something different chemicals.
Mhm.
And when you burn it, if you do, if you have something called combination and permutation, if you do the combination by burning those 471 different chemicals, you can come up with about 110,000 just combining in two, you know.
Mhm.
If you're to combine them in twos alone, the 471 by combination will give you 110,000, 120 something thousand different byproducts. So I don't know. I would really want to know who doing the experiment, where they get the authority from to claim that they have the expertise. You understand?
Mhm.
Do they have to go away for training? It's just as if you're doing chemistry, you're doing accounts, you're doing physics. To advance yourself, you have to take certain courses. Just here, maybe doing some pilot projects and monitoring them. But I don't think that's sufficient.
No,
That can't be
we
sufficient.
build
People got
along.
to, they're like engineering, you
We
know.
build along as we go in the process, and we must able to make sure that once we going forward, the information for those capacity that you're outlining in the chemistry pattern, be willing to precise for the people who are work to pursue in that field, making sure they have all the necessities that are engaged to them at hand.
So we have a lab. We have a lab where these people operating at.
I won't say we have a lab at the moment, but in the aspect considering to how things are playing out, some people are doing their work in their format, as you just said, test field, and so if there is a continuity where they can bring themselves more into pursuing these things on a clear basis, that they making sure that what they think they're noting down, what they are evaluating, the experiments to what they are looking forward to carry out in this,
But
as
do
they
they have
say,
the appropriate apparatus to carry out the experiment? Do they have standardized
uh,
apparatus?
so from
So
legal framework.
if this is a 25 mil
Mm,
cylinder,
mm,
how could I ascertain that it's a 25 mil cylinder? Because you have to graduate, you got to calibrate stuff. Calibrate. If I say that this is a 25 mil, it might mark 25 mil, but you have to calibrate it. Where you got 25 mil, it might just be 23. You have to ascertain that the mark 25 is actually 25. When you go to calibrate it, you might find out that it's just
That's less
23.
than the number.
Because if you have a scale, you got to recalibrate your scale because when you zero your scale, if a scale is brand new and operating perfectly well, zero is zero and £5 is £5. But as you use the scale throughout on a regular basis,
You can
you
check
can lose some efficiency.
efficiency within the
And
number
maybe when you
factor.
have £5, maybe the scale will be zero at £3. So when you have five, is now up by eight because you zero your scale at £3. So whatever you get, you got to subtract three. So when you get a reading of five, it can't be five because five was from zero to five. Five would now be up by eight.
So these are the measures that will work forwardly to maintain on that aspect. And while we outlining, they just outline. So these, so we're looking at a level that making sure the chemist pattern within the field work of that be certified by people who have that
Right,
kind
and
of.
train. It's engineering, you're engineering.
So that's why we're on the work will possess within all the context or the aspect. I like to all up to there. I tell them we don't want to use the word can, cause we trying to move away from this aspect of can. Let me look into our phrase and say where we say when you say can, we say I don't, because we're looking to bring a development that can bring changes in how we speculate in our thinking expectation to, as you just outlined, the field that captivate within the chemistry. Many of these people who we can't say and offhand, but who within the capacity can work within that field, be certified for that part to work for the well-being.
Right, so they should be supported by traveling overseas and getting the
Uh,
adequate and appropriate training
Training.
because you can't stay here. Fellas stay here and by osmosis, they would have learned to be a mechanic. Some people never gone anywhere to study mechanical engineering, but they could fix a car well good. But now you have the diagnostic and so taking place with the vehicle. You plug up this, you plug up that. They tell you exactly where you have to go and check, and it's less of a risk and it take less time consuming when you know precisely what is wrong. So if you have people training this thing, you can't learn this thing by osmosis. You could guess and guess and guess, but if you add this and we add that, and then we give somebody to smoke it and they fall along, we could say, well, it's too strong, so let's reduce the concentration. We can we cannot be guessing. Yes, we got to feel our way through, but we can only do that up to a certain point. People must qualify themselves because remember it's an opportunity now, and a lot of people gonna be opportunists trying to grab the economic opportunity, but whether or not they qualify to push the product out there because it's for consumption, When you're smoking weed, you're consuming something. It's going in your system, that is consumption. And you gotta be very careful. The brewery and those places when they're making their drinks, they have a standard to come up to. They're being graded. So yes, we have people here that are trying to make an effort, and we can appreciate that. We can commend them. But then where do we go after that step? What is the next step? So we're dealing with animals, so we just give people
Document and
right.
research, document and research.
Document and research. But how could you ascertain your results? How could you do your confirmatory test to say, well, this is it? How can I go? Okay, you say you have A, and the ingredients are the strength or the potency of the weed you put there. How can I go and replicate the experiments that you did to say, well, this is the strength of that? When you don't say this is the strength and the package, it is not turning back. We have miles to go.
We will just put something out there, but then I think that is not the way it will reach to, because at this stage that we are doing things to preside basically for not just for what we want, but for what the future will hold. And the future is to maintain a properment of what we need to preside wisely and more upholding our integrity within all elements of development toward this chain, what other presiding to create within, as we say, edibles are break down to whatever within oil or things. So all this is in an assumption that you say yes, the chain need to impact that the person whatever individual insert and that they'll get a proper way of knowing what they're doing.
And then we put in our some emphasis on edibles. Edibles and mash up the best are you.
You sure?
The best are you who feel that I head strong. Not the best of you are who feel that I head.
you say mash
I know
up.
you get mashed up already too from edibles.
You say mash up, but you
Yeah,
say
mash up. Last for a while then.
no. You
Last
see,
for a while. When you smoke it, they go straight to your head and everything else in a few. But when you eat it and it got to go to your digestive system, we don't get an instant high or a high as quickly as when you smoke it. So then we there relaxing and we eating more, we consuming more. Next time somebody go look for you, you in your backyard soaping on or sitting on behind there for hours. You ain't know where you be, people ain't know where you be.
the best take I could look at edibles in use is that you see like people with illness of the cancer and other rapid
Extreme
diseases.
cases, terminally ill.
You know, these are the well intake that the edibles should be utilized at because it's able to formulate what was inside to copulate your organs and whatever. No, some people use edibles as a way of they say they want to get a enjoyable time,
Ahoy.
a enjoyable time,
And they end up getting a lot.
and
They end up on the ground.
sometimes some of the intake one body cannot
Right.
confine within. So that's why I use the term only in the stage that it is best take as an edible to use when it comes to pain initiative. You see,
But even pain, you don't know how much to take.
I mean the pain, I mean of the illnesses.
No, I understand.
That confine within some of the disease that are blind. So we will have there are labels. I would like to get a reference and I had a sister who in the valley of the Rastafari field, she had been a warrior on the field for a long time. Her name is Sister Janya Christian. She from the Anguilla born, but she have family ties here in St. Kitts. And she was on the illness that confined her to her transition. And she was using the edibles, and it was a ease to her within the illness that she was facing up to. And if she had captivated that use in the early stage, she could have a more different result. Prior way saying she might not take a transition, but she'll have a different result because when I did sit down to her and ask her, we did the edibles, she said yes, but it's just that she didn't get the detection in using it on an early stage to what she have facing in her illness.
Even a doctor prescribing painkillers, they got different strengths. They have different strength. You might take them over a longer period of time. Therefore, the strength might be lessened. Or if it is a real excruciating pain, they would have to increase whatever dosage or concentration so that you can get relief quicker. You understand? So, with the edibles and the most vulnerable part of our population, the young people, is it that is a group that people supplying with the edibles don't have a clue how much inside there. And I think sometimes it is unconscionable for persons to be given youth edibles especially.
I go and support the call and having our young ones who going to, especially in the school capacity. No,
that is where they sell them
yeah,
most.
in the school capacity, I find it that it look like whoever is inserting this, I would like to say, no, you have to think more inserting on the youths them to have a better stage in their development mind. Not to say not give them the guns of knowing what herb is, but don't give them things that they don't have. They insert in what they're using. And these are some of the capacity we want to make sure that the public education be valued to change the climax and how we see things are ushering out at the moment. I just say that some things are being used in like in the aspect as like everything for all. Now, formally from the recommendation from the commission that was outlined in 2017, that was being able to give the report in 2019. It show that we must able to pursue in aligning ourselves in how to make sure that children in its capacity, because I and I from the Rastafari community know it in the Rastafari tenant, our youths who are racists, do some parents in the intel will have their youth not impart the herb as like a smoking aspect. They have them use it in a different way, and some will have their way of they got to use them when time with the breed the age span coming along, how they will let them in family within the usage of the herb. Now, I know in a sense of how we see things that a lot of people are trying to use the youths them in the capacity to try to have them as their own bearer to what they want them be. No, we have to bring this into notion that this is not the time to have use them as a bearer. That we have them as a guiding light to what need to be to ensure that they have a proper invitation to what herb and what the edibles them are of, so they don't get caught on the costume and getting things and then they don't know what they're taking. And I find enough people are using things just to get a quick money, and we got to stop with this year. It's not a quick money hub. It's not about a quick money. Yeah, you can make money in it, but it's not to have a quick money. The spiritual movements it is within when you have hub around you. So let us.
Spiritual for some,
It should be.
recreational for others. Because Parliament made that very clear. The Rastafari movement and the members could use it when they're worshipping, but then the non-Rastafari movement population cannot use it. But I really don't understand the difference though.
This is where the
Because
notion that change.
you're telling me a youth under 18, as long as he's part of Rastafari community, he's given the freedom to indulge in the use of marijuana. And a similar youth, 18, but non-Rastafari, you're bringing on the hammer on that individual because you're asking parents not to let them use it. But the difference between an 18-year-old Rastafari and an 18-year-old non-Rastafari, the brain got the same really development.
To
And
extend
they say before 25, now they add on 5 more years. They
before
say the brain
25,
is
that
on
is something
not
that
fully developed before the age of 30. Dr. Gupta on top of CNN, the brain doctor, he indicated that. So it's really the age of 30. So those of us who submitting our beating into submission our youngsters to be a part of our celebrative environment, spiritual environment. That's wrong.
and I will challenge Dr. Gupta with all maximum respect to you, my brother. Um, some others have different details in what your research have outlined, and I'm not going to continue the aspect to your research like you didn't do your work. But we just say that the different values of how body or the mind and youth go to. So you just can't give one option.
So how come we want to embrace what the scientists them say when it is in our favor, saying all the things that marijuana could do or cannabis could do from scientific research? You want to embrace that. But when the same scientists who giving you all this pomp and glory, telling you that the brain is not fully developed before you're 30 years. We have an issue with that.
How sure that?
But who's sure of the benefits of marijuana?
I say how sure of that within all use you want to say that the capacity of that age span will captivate and that I just say develop. You have some youth being more functionally developed.
But those are, you call them the outliers. Just as if we have some
outliers.
We have some people. We had a young lady there, a black young lady there. She's 17 and she got a doctorate. You wouldn't find average young persons getting doctorate at the age of 17. So you have everybody unique in their own way.
On their own, that's why
somebody could drink a glass of wine and can't drive, go home, they see in 3 and 4 streets.
So that's why I say you can't make the assumption that the brain is mentally built
underdeveloped
by
until you reach the age of 30. They used to be 25.
it used to be 25.
Yeah, and they put on 5 more years
But
on it.
in the structure of the study, man, what we see, some
Mhm.
of the things that are relating on the brain are not basically what need to formulate for the brain to have a better function and before the age of 30. Because when you look at even look at carnival, so the capacity of the young generation, ha, I won't say all, but percentage of it take entail within the alcohol consumption and the carnival eve what they call as Juve morning.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
And look at when
The
you see
mixing of
you
stuff.
look at how when you see them on the morning movement, how they look like they don't even know if they're walking or them. So some see the capacities that some of them can handle on that aspect and some can't. But what I would say, in the same breath, we know now that in that aspect, in all we of our youth will have the functionaries within how the
The
youth
parliament say 18. They
the
must
youth
be above
they
18.
use that term, but we saying in all in the aspect of that term will work for the well-being of what the parliament said, even though it's the legislative body outlining that.
But we got to be governed by
Yes, that's
laws.
what I said. Even though I
And I
didn't
find that we kind of slack when come
within
to our 18 and under 18 children. We just couldn't care, like you said a while ago. Some people just hell bent on making money,
money.
and that's it. If they get if they get 100% of the population of people between 12 and 18, they'll hang on to that. They may even put spang inside of the thing to get them addicted and
Uh,
always coming just for the economic
That is
purpose.
what we have to have that insert, as you just said. You see, some of the things are slack. Well, and the content, I find some of the things are moving because somebody trying to push what they want for their own personal thing in this.
But we are so far away, could be guilty too,
In what?
because people under 18, that's so far away, children or
Mm-hmm.
relative or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they operate differently to non-Rastafari children under 18, as if they're being given a license to let the children do what they want, and the law doesn't apply to the Rastafari children.
We can find guilty on that notion where you're trying to claim. Because here is it that
It has to figure 2 years.
I outlined to you that in the same breath, the Rastafari community that the parents them is the one who deciding how their children will be able to function within the use of the herb amongst them.
So because Parliament gave you some degree of liberty,
Mhm.
you could just utilize it and got your young children being a part in mind, and not all of them.
Mhm.
But they have some who engage the children under 18 in the use of marijuana. Is that correct?
Well, Rastafari is a broad based use for the structure of how the development goes. So
But if the law say do not give them under 18,
it's
it,
not,
it, it doesn't involve or incorporate
that's what I
those
tell you.
Rastafari children.
In the format, Rastafari children, as that outline, in does go into how you protecting it to be border natal, and I say that straight
And
because
even if they're not
I
using it
I've
directly,
been
they're
in.
inhaling it in the
Yeah, but
homes.
in the same format, have you seen them coming out and being an outsurge to the society that they are a part of? Have you seen them bring any this shame to their family home for
But
what they are
I never
part of?
carry out any
And
research on that.
I've been seeing this year and the tenant because I could talk from my experience and what I've seen how something within you have your gongs and what you've seen can be happening. And for what we're seeing really now that the Rastafari community is willing and ready to pursue it, not just because that they have a ground level presumption to carry within their youth farm of laying the children and have the substance to the use of herb. But one of the things I will always say, when they use them amongst I and I, yes, they are entail that they get amongst the smoking, but still they are entail that they have a pattern out there that they can be in their own climax within what we as the bigger ones them in the Rastafari community particularly use within when they have reasoning. So they won't be much on the aspect of them presiding and the smoke only unless when we have a more commutes now where I and I can race within their present there. We know Some of them who have that strength to conclude within using, whether they use it by the tea farm or they use it within the smoking or they use it within breaking down and different, but they don't do it on the open value of a congregation farmer. So we have ways, I mean, how the parents of the Rastafari community usher out their ways in how they use the herb.
And I'm saying that even if you have your ways, based on Parliament, it is not right for anybody under 18.
Parliament have a lot of changes to make to, you know, but in it
Yeah,
as
but
based on
they're
Parliament.
gonna come incrementally. But I'm saying what is applicable to an 18-year-old should be across the table.
Mhm.
Not because your son, you know, we keep saying Rastafari, Rastafari. You got some people more spiritual than some Rastas.
Mhm. And what
And they
wrong?
would like that to be a part of
The customary,
the worship.
and they ain't get that they're into the use of what they want to be about. They can, because in the aspect, that's what I tell you, the constitution supposed to enable to ones and ones, not just an individual. The constitution give, as they say, is the supreme law of the land. But still, the notion of the supreme law of the land, there is limitation. What I find need to have absurd betterment than what we're seeing going
But the
forward.
Constitution can cover everything, you know.
It won't cover everything, but
Right.
it
It
can
might
it
be
can have.
silent. It might be silent
Mm,
on certain issues. Now it's the lawmakers them to fill those voids
mm,
as we progress and make sure that we have a law abiding citizens and people are protected, property and people are protected.
true.
Because you don't have to be doing something violently to show that something is impacting you.
Yeah,
You
okay.
could retard your progress in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might smoke up the weed and go do nonsense. Some people might smoke up the weed and be the nicest of person, but then they're not returning anything from school. They're
Okay.
not returning anything from the job market. They don't even have the desire and the momentum to go and look a job.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the adverse effects that these things would have on our youths.
No, that.
You don't have to act a kind of way from a psychological perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It could slow you down.
It can slow you down in what form, as you say. You don't have to be on from a psychological perspective, but when you say these are things that people don't, that is people who just want a thing, as they call a high. The hope is not for a high. The hope is a meditation, a spiritual advancement to what you use for your intake within you and the creative value. And when you look at some of how we seen young people using herb, a lot of them are using it by smoking and drinking. That is something that breaking down a lot of the intoxication on our people right now today.
So who responsible for giving them an education to get them away from that practice?
And I do the generation of the Rastafari within this aspect are willing to take up the notion to go and make that forward point. And not just by Rastafari, the public and large, so we can entail a community orientation. We must able to have that movement going forward, not force the youth them, guide the youth them, because we are not going here to dictate on the youth them. We are here to educate the youth them that they can have a betterment for what they're seeing in the future.
You know, everybody can get a license to grow marijuana.
Mm.
They'll only pick some because the land is limited or whatever you need.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody might not have that. So you might have to surgically discriminate, choose who to give, who not to give. And when you do that, if you had 10 people who wanted to get license to do whatever,
Mm.
and you give 7 of them and 3 did not get, well, you'll cultivate. And the other 3 might just find a way to harvest it. And it will lead to violence and bloodshed.
And
That's a possibility.
I'm praying that in the same aspect how you just pursue it, I'm looking at it from a different level now. If the license come to it and farm and you just make a number in saying 10 people apply,
And
and
only
out of
7
only
get.
7 get all the 10. Now the 3 who didn't get must able to be supportive. Not
Supportive how?
not will like none to say, oh, they select who they want. No, be supportive in making sure that they wherever the 7 have caught within the license. Be okay, let me say if I could get this year, I could work in somewhere. I mean, to
You might not get along to that extent. That is what I'm telling
you
you.
might, but it's better to start doing things that can create that extent.
Marijuana has created a lot of
You
violence
sure?
in our federation. Yes, harvesting, people planting and other people harvesting. How much people catch people on the marijuana patch and dealt with them?
I see something that we have to pursue in bringing a better education and making these things comply in our society more than what it is now. That is where you see these are the grounds that we cannot continue laying people being pursue on a value of violence over a plan that is not supposed to be attained like that.
And even those who harvest, yes, you cultivate, you harvest. Another man didn't get a chance, but then you employ him as a mule or whatever, carry out your thing, sell your thing, a supplier, helping you distribute. But then when time to collect the money, you're not collecting the money that you're supposed to collect.
No,
Then gun become involved, machete become involved.
you're putting a certain thing more further than what it's not so.
Yeah, but I'm just exploring the
That's in the
possibilities.
possibilities. Yeah.
How many person give people thing to push, and when they shop for the money, they can't get it? That's violence. Something can happen because you expect you return when you don't put out all the work on that piece of land to get your product, and you trusted somebody to distribute it for you and bring back the returns. Whatever commission you're giving them, you're giving them. But then it might not always be perfect, and it can lead to stuff too. We know that.
That we're realizing now in that same moment. No, because if we're going into it, we're going into it to evaluate one another, not devaluate. Because if one notion that I am the supplier to Nital, he pushing the market to what I supplying on. Now he giving me a percentage. Shouldn't I be more respectful to his service and the
They're making
appliances?
$100 and he giving you 1 cent instead of 10 cents.
That is something that need to be properly.
We got taxi drivers down there,
Mhm,
and they war each other,
mhm.
and now they're warring the Uber for the fellas them. No,
for
you understand?
for moving in the service as a
Right.
transportation.
But people, everybody need the
That's
4 square
possible.
meals are there. So if you're doing your taxi and you're doing that and you're making it and they can't make it and they can't get a taxi license because they got limited number of persons who could get taxi licenses. And as a result of that, you got to turn to Uber. And the Uber doing very well in our federation.
In our federation.
So you don't believe some animosity gonna go out of that there and propagate throughout our federation and cause a similar to the
Which in I
to the
think
marijuana
no
licensing.
here is it that those two, the avenue and the hub avenue is in this sense have to capacitate within reason. So even some taxi drivers and the Uber can conclude and say, well, XYZ, but now with the hub plant now and the structure of the industry, this is what we need as our people. Reach out, pursue within all necessities that can carry out the industry that is supposed to approach on, and bring in all the framework to make sure that the public and large have a assurance in what the development will pursue.
Ideally, we would hope that everybody work with in great harmonization.
And that is what
And
we say
that is for heaven. We're not perfect. And complete harmonization might not occur. And we must expect the
unexpected
people who operating outside are the ideal situation. You understand? So things like that, we can't think that they're gonna be a perfect situation and don't care much we talk and preach and educate. It will never be perfect. And we'll have situations that we'll have to deal with.
But at least when these situations where we can able to maneuver some of this tribe that don't let it be core within that kind of element that create a via force that could have violent interaction. These are things that we have to able to cope. I mean, I have not been a perfect, and I always say that there is no perfection in humanity. So if there was a perfection, we'd have done clear all the things that we see in the troubles of the world today. But true enough, what we see now, there is ways and means that we can better develop for our people. and the future of our youth. Them.
But we have gone past 10
Uh,
o'clock by about 3-4 minutes, and we want to really thank you for coming. And we're hoping that as a board member,
mhm.
that occasionally you'll come and give us a little update. I don't know if there's a website that we can go to and get information from. I believe something of such um, national interest and importance and relevance that a website would be established and the general public could go there and get information. But whenever you get an opportunity and you feel that there is a void in the information that the general public should have, you're free to come here and let us have a discussion.
We will be thankful for this this invitation as they said from your brother Nital, and I'm not, as I stated here, remember Rasa is not here and I'm as a in terms of the board. I'm here as just in terms of the community in Rastafari. And from here on, whatever work within the format from the board going to share, I pray as what Brother Nital said, this communique will be fairly to the general public, not by in the sense that Vasaya God just come and give, but we'll, even though on the aspect we'll be willing to come and share whatever information can be for the well-being of the public, sure.
And I hope that your public relation officer would afford us some flexibility in talking to them as well
Well,
at appropriate junctures.
Yes, I will willing to see that the approaching that will be happening.
Okay, thank you once again.
Thanks a lot, Brother
Rastaya.
Nital, and thanks a lot to the technician sister and the format. You come a long way. I could say that, but you do well. Keep it up here.
Okay,
Enough
good
love,
night and
respect,
enjoy what
blessed
is left of
everyone.
our Thursday night.
Give thanks.
Okay.
The opinions and statements made by the host and participants in this program are not those of the owners, advertisers, and management company of Sugar City FM 90.3, nor are such statements necessarily supported or endorsed by the owners, managers, or advertisers of this station. While we encourage all to share their opinions, we do not support any comments that may slander, discriminate, or otherwise offend anyone, and we insist that you refrain from any such statements.